The release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151 on September the 22nd, 2023 is going to be bringing us this Charizard EX card with some really beefy attacks, though some really weird caveats as well. And the card is actually out right now in Japan, and we've got some deck lists to check out. So in advance of Pokemon Scarlet 151 coming out, we can take a look at how Charizard EX decks could work. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about this Charizard EX. It is a stage 2 Pokemon with 330 HP, which is absolutely massive. 2 retreat, and it's got 2 really interesting attacks. Brave Wing for 1 fire energy does 60 damage, and if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, this attack does 100 more damage. Getting the damage on there isn't too bad. You can use something like Magma Basin to get the initial damage on, and then you're swinging for 160 damage on 1 fire energy, which is incredibly efficient. Now, you're not necessarily taking out most single or multi-price Pokemon with 160, but that is a really solid poke, taking out a lot of single-price Pokemon along the way. And then below that, we've got the Explosive Vortex attack for 4 fire energy, but it does a massive 330 damage, and you have to discard 3 energy from this Pokemon. 330 damage is huge. You are knocking out almost everything in the game in 1 hit, which is awesome, but having to discard 3 fire energy in order to make that work does suck. So how do we make this work? Well, shout outs to Pokekabook for compiling a number of deck lists here. Shout outs to Pokekabook. You should absolutely follow them on Twitter for an early look at deck lists, especially ones that have done well in Japanese tournaments. And yeah, I fixed the layout here so you can see this card right here that used to be blocked by my head. Anyhow, let's talk about the way that there's 4 different lists here to check out. So let's start. We've got a 4-1-4 line. Oh, 4-1-3 line of Charizard EX, and we've already talked about the moves on Charizard EX, the discarding the 3 energy and all that. But one of the big inclusions in this deck, and we'll see it in pretty much all of these, is this Pokemon Go Charizard. And just as a quick refresher, it has the ability Burning Brightly. Each basic fire energy attached to your Pokemon provides 2 fire energy. You can't apply more than 1 Burn Brightly ability at a time. So one of your Charmanders, you're eventually going to want to turn into this Charizard to then double your fire energy, which then makes the Explosive Vortex work for only 2 fire energy, which is absolutely nuts. And then you only have to discard 2 energy, and that just makes the attack that much more usable. Now, if it's still in the active and you have to get 2 energy into the active, that's still a little weird, and these decks have different ways of going about it. Let's continue. We've also got Raikou, or no, this is Entei. This one has the attack that does 20 damage plus 20 for each benched Pokemon, yours and your opponent's. This one is a pretty solid 2 prize attacker, very efficient. If you get the Charizard set up, then it only costs 1, but 2 energy is not that hard to set up. This can do really solid damage. The big challenge is it's a 2 prize Pokemon. It's kind of squishy as well, but if you're trying to get your first big hit in while you're setting up the Charizard, this is not a bad option. We also have the Squakabilly from Paldea Evolved. If your starting hand sucks, bench Squakabilly and then refresh your hand, like discard all those cards and then draw up to 6. I love this card the more that I play it. And this, by the way, this only works on the first turn, so keep that in mind when you put Squakabilly in your decks. And then the last new card here is this new Moltres, and I have it pulled up right here, where it's got the ability Flare Float. If this Pokemon has any fire energy attached, it has no retreat cost, which is really nice. And then also for 3 fire energy, Long Distance Flight. You discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, and this attack does 120 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So 120 snipe damage is really good, being able to take out stuff like Comfeys or Curlias and Raltzes off the bench. Pretty solid early game attacker as well. I guess if you can get the Charizard set up, being able to do this in only 2 energy is nice. It is 3 fire energy though, so it's not necessarily going to be a great starting attacker, but still a cool tech to have. And then last but not least, we've also got a Lumineon here to grab a supporter of our choice, and then a Radiant Charizard, which has an attack that does 250 damage. However, it costs 5 energy, which is nuts, but as you lose prizes, it becomes cheaper and cheaper until your opponent has 2 prizes left, and then this can attack for 1 fire energy. As far as trainer cards go, we've got 4 Ultra Balls, 2 Nest Balls to get our basics. 4 Ultra Ball, you discard 2 cards, get the Pokemon of your choice. 4 Battle VIP Pass. This is a very setup heavy deck, and you're going to want to go as wide as possible. So Battle VIP Pass lets you bench 2 basic Pokemon from your deck onto the bench, but these only work on the first turn. We've got 4 copies of Rare Candy, and yeah, you're going to need to set up multiple stage 2s here in as many Charizard EXs as you can, plus at least 1 of the Pokemon Go Charizard. And I think one of the big dangers of this deck is that if you set up only 1 Charizard Pokemon Go version and that gets boss KO'd, the deck kind of falls apart. So you kind of have to find the balance between the Charizard EXs plus the Charizard from Pokemon Go. We've got 1 Super Rod for Pokemon and energy recovery. And here we've got 2 escape ropes and 1 switch. This is probably a way of being able to, 1, use the Brave Wing attack where you kind of move in, switch back and forth between fresh Charizards so they can take damage, but also it's a way of potentially reloading energy with Explosive Vortex. After you do Explosive Vortex, you switch to a different attacker, and then you can use Magma Basin to help recharge. Here we've also got 2 copies of Forest Seal Stone, which you can attach to the Raikou or the Lumineon to grab a card of your choice. We've got 1 EXP share. This is going to be an energy hungry deck, and you're going to want to move energy around when something gets KO'd. So 1 copy of energy or EXP share totally makes sense. 3 Professor's Research. Discard your hand, draw 7. Great draw card, one of the best in the game. We've got 2 copies of Boss's Orders for Gusting, 1 Raihan, again, just to try and keep as much energy on the board as you can. When a Pokemon gets knocked out, you can play Raihan, attach an energy from the discard pile, and get a card of your choice. 2 copies of Judge for hand disruption. Be interesting that they don't go with Iono here, but that's a choice one can make. And 2 Arven, which lets you get a tool and an item of your choice. The only tool here is, actually there's 2 tools here. So yeah, it's kind of good for grabbing any of these items along here, but also 4 Seal Stone or EXP share. In particular, Arven with the 4 Seal Stone is a pretty sick combo, because then you can then grab a card of your choice, and it doesn't have to be an item or a tool. And then we've got, last but not least, 3 Magma Basins and 10 basic fire energy. I personally would probably feel more comfortable if this was 4 because of how energy hungry this deck is, but I understand the choices that they've made here. Let's go look at this second list. And one of the differences here is they've got a 2/2 line of Bibarel, and this is to help draw some more cards throughout the game. We also see a Basculin. This is the one with the free attack, Gather the Crew, lets you bench 2 basic Pokemon and end your turn. This is probably going to get knocked out on the following turn, but if it helps you get your bench set up a little wider, that's great. And they have this kind of instead of the Battle BIP Pass. They also have a heavier ball count here with 4 Nest Ball and 3 Level Balls. 4 copies of the Rare Candy. I think that's the same. We've got a Choice Belt here for some extra damage. And then we've got Iono here instead of Judge. And we also have the 4 Magma Basin for the fire acceleration to the bench. Your Pokemon does take 20 damage along with the attachment from Magma Basin, but that is great because it lets you then use Brave Wing as an attack. Let's go look at this third list here, and one of the key differences here is the inclusion of Celebration's Mew. This one lets you search the top 5 cards of your deck and grab an item and then put that into your hand. And this is a very item-heavy build with the Battle VIP passes, Ultra Balls, Nest Balls, Rare Candies, and we have the most switching cards we've seen here. This is 3 Switch and 1 Rope. Definitely relying a little more on that first attack, Brave Wing, in order to stay in the game, switch back and forth between Charizards until you can build up to Explosive Vortex on one of them. We've also got 1 Raihan V as a good starting attacker in the early game, and Radiant Greninja to help get the energy, the basic fire energy, into the discard while also helping you draw cards along the way. Anything funky about... Yeah, we got 2 Pokegear 3.0s. Help us grab either Research Boss or Iono. And then we've got 1 copy of Forest Seal Stone. Nice inclusion here as well. You'll have to attach it to the Raikou to make that work. And then the last list we've got here. Let's see what's different here. We do have the Bibra Line, and the big difference is Armorogue, and I should have pulled that card up, but this one has an ability that lets you move energy between Pokemon. And I think where this comes in handy is that if you have a Charizard in the active and you have to discard energy because you use the Explosive Vortex attack, you can then use Armorogue to move energy from a bench Pokemon. You can move it from any of your fire Pokemon. So you can do something like use Magma Basin to attach fire energy to, let's say, this Charizard here, and then use Armorogue to move that energy on to the Charizard so that it can use the Explosive Vortex attack on multiple turns. Really interesting tech include here. Another one that I really like seeing is Cheryl, and this is one where if you're attacking with just the single energy attack, you can then Cheryl, heal your Charizard, and then attach another energy and do another 160. Really nice tech there. And we also have Kindler from Brilliant Stars, and I cannot remember what this card does, but we have heavy count of Kindler here. I'm going to actually edit in the Kindler review right now. All right, Kindler. This one lets you, when you discard a fire energy, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put up to 2 of them in your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Now, Kindler is a card that has not really seen any competitive play up to this point, but it does make sense in the context of this build where you discard the fire energy, lets you grab 2 cards of your choice. Could be Rare Candy, could be Cheryl, could be whatever. But it also synergizes really well with Magma Basin as it lets you get fire energy into the discard, and then you can attach that energy to one of your fire Pokemon. All right, let's go back to the rest of this video. There we go. That is an early look at Charizard EX deck lists from Japan. Are you excited to try this deck out? Let me know in the comments of the video. Are there any sort of other cards that you would like to see worked into these decks? I like some of the ideas here. I wish I could mash all of them into one, but of course you can only have 60 cards in a deck, and you're gonna have to make some concessions somewhere. So I look forward to continuing the theory craft in my head before the cards come out, and then eventually, once the set releases in late September, I will definitely be giving this deck a go and making a video about it. But until then, I gotta get going. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In Third Person. You can find me on Twitch at In Third Person, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website inthirdperson.com for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.